Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. So I've been running this Peninsula tank behind me for about 4 years, and I've had some great success with it. I had some gigantic colonies in the tank that I pulled out about 8 months ago. Things were just becoming too problematic. Things were growing into one another, shading things out. So I decided to do a big reboot of the tank, and I put Frags in about 8 months ago. And they've been doing really well. I've been getting some super great coloration and some fantastic growth with the Frags. But I've decided to make a big change in the methodology I use to supplement the alkalinity and the calcium in this tank. I had been using kalkwasser as well as a calcium reactor in conjunction with one another. I've been doing that with my other system. Great results, great results. So why am I making this change? Am I insane for kind of messing with success? Well, why am I going to be doing the bolus method from Fauna Marin? And for those that don't know what the bolus method is, in a nutshell, bolus is a big alkalinity dump 30 minutes before your lights turn on in the display tank. It's really kind of like a three-part system. You've got alkalinity, you've got calcium, and you've got magnesium. You've got some traces that are mixed in with the alkalinity and the calcium parts. But the big thing is that big alkalinity dump. So if you want to learn more about bolus, I had a couple of conversations on Rapping with ReefBum. One conversation with Claude Schumacher, who is the CEO of Fauna Marin, as well as Mike Paletta, who is using the bolus method. That was about 5 months ago. And a couple of months ago, I had Doug Dort on from Frag Farm UK, and we talked about it in depth. So check those things out for more info on bolus. So getting into why I'm making the change. Well, from those conversations with those guys, I learned a whole bunch of different things. One thing is that over time, one sign of using kalkwasser over a long period of time is a drop in pH. And I have been noticing a little drop off in pH for this tank. It had been on cruise control between 8.2 to 8.5. Recently, it's been in the 8.0 to 8.1 range, so it fell. The other thing that I learned is that over time, kalkwasser can cause these precipitations, and with these precipitations, you can get a lot of. There can be a high demand for fluoride. There can be a high demand for phosphate, nitrate, trace metals. So I dose a lot of those things to my tank. So I think the big question that people tend to debate about is, well, kalkwasser, how can that cause precipitations? Why would that potentially be something that could cause a tank to spiral into an old tank syndrome scenario? So I just want to read something Doug had said. I'm going to read it because he's the expert, and I want to make sure I have it right. But this is the explanation in terms of how kalkwasser can potentially cause these precipitations. So what Doug said is kalkwasser combined with CO2 forms calcium ions and carbonate ions. The buffer system determines the permitted concentration of carbonate ions based on the pH. It's a fixed amount. When you add extra carbonate ions, most will be converted back to bicarbonate ions, a move which increases the pH, but some of them won't convert in time and will fall out of solution as calcium carbonate. The carbonate forms in areas where the pH is slightly elevated, for instance, the surfaces where there are organics or fish waste, for example, fish waste. So with the precipitations, those potentially, will lead to biofilms and bacteria. They will go into overdrive. They could lead to some undesirable algae, fungi, microbes. All of this is a major draw on pH. There will be more detritus. I've had a lot of detritus in my systems. In general, reef funk and grunge. So I do have that stuff. A sign of that sort of thing is a fuzziness on the rocks, on the substrate, other surfaces in the tank. So I've had all these signs. I've had the slight drop in pH. I've been dosing a lot of those trace elements I mentioned, dosing a lot of phosphates, dosing a lot of nitrates. I have this algae that is now in my system for the last few months. It's called Lobophora. It's a kind of like a black-brown algae that's covered the rock work. Some of the rocks and the bottom of the tank. I've been pulling a lot of it out. I've got a naso tang coming, on the way. I've read that naso tangs can really take care of that sort of algae, but there's a lot of fuzziness on that algae, and did the precipitations bring on that algae? I don't know. Maybe not, but maybe it was tied to that. So even though my corals are looking great using the kalkwasser and the carbon dioxide, I do want to try this bolus method to see if, I can potentially solve some of these issues in terms of the more depressed pH and having to dose a lot of these trace elements and nutrients to keep up with the tank. So I will keep everybody up to date as this progresses. I just started it, and it's a bit of a learning curve, but I think it's something that I want to understand better, and actually to understand it better, I think the best thing to do is to actually do it. So we will see what happens over the next few months. If you want to leave any comments below, please do so, and that'll do it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Until next time, be safe and be well. Later.